There is a hidden cost to being too nice, one that no one warns you about. A cost so subtle that it eats away at your strength, your confidence, and your very sense of self. It happens quietly, in the moments when you bite your tongue instead of speaking your mind, when you give endlessly, expecting fairness in return, only to be met with disappointment, when you apologize for things that aren't your fault. But what if I told you that being too nice isn't kindness? It's a prison. For centuries, great minds have explored the nature of power, influence, and self-respect. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, knew that too much deference leads to weakness. Nietzsche warned that excessive niceness can be a disguise for fear. And in the modern world, we see it every day. The man who bends to every demand but earns no respect. The friend who is always available yet always overlooked. The worker who does everything right but is still undervalued. There is a way out. A way to reclaim your strength, your purpose, your respect. The answer is not cruelty, nor is it arrogance. It is balance. Today we uncover 6 profound benefits of not being too nice. 6 lessons that, if you understand them, will reshape your relationships, your career, and your mind. Stay with me, because once you hear this, you will never look at the world the same way again. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Every like, subscribe, helps us continue our mission of sharing knowledge. And leave a comment below and share your opinion on these benefits, or tell me which one resonates with you the most. Ready to unlock more wisdom? Let's get started. Benefit 1. The power of self-respect. Have you ever wondered why those who demand respect often receive it, while those who are endlessly accommodating find themselves ignored, undervalued, or even disrespected? The answer is not found in mere chance or the cruelty of the world. It is a fundamental principle of human nature. Too much niceness erodes self-respect, and without self-respect, others will struggle to respect you. The Stoics, the great philosophers of resilience and wisdom, understood that self-respect is the cornerstone of a strong character. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." How much of your time have you wasted pleasing others at the cost of your own dignity? When you are too nice, always saying yes, always deferring, always avoiding conflict, you are sending a signal to the world that your needs, opinions, and desires are secondary. And if you treat yourself as secondary, why would anyone else treat you as a priority? The key to self-respect is boundaries. The great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He urged his people to stand upright, not be held upright. In other words, be firm in your principles, so that your worth does not depend on the approval or validation of others. If you wish to command respect, you must first cultivate it within yourself. Many fear that by ceasing to be excessively nice, they will alienate people. But the opposite is true. People are drawn to those who respect themselves. They sense strength in those who set boundaries, in those who do not allow themselves to be walked upon. Self-respect is not about arrogance. It is about valuing yourself as much as you value others. Consider this. The man who is overly nice, who always yields, often finds himself surrounded by people who take advantage of him. But the man who asserts himself, who politely but firmly states his needs, will attract those who respect his strength. Which of these two men will command more admiration? Which will be truly respected, not just used and discarded? If you have been living your life as a perpetual people-pleaser, now is the time to change. Now is the time to honor yourself as much as you honor others. The moment you begin to respect yourself, you will notice a shift, not just in how others treat you, but in how you perceive yourself. And when you respect yourself, you become unstoppable. Benefit 2. Freedom from manipulation. Have you ever noticed that the nicest people are often the easiest to manipulate? There is a reason for this. When you are too nice, when your greatest desire is to avoid conflict, to please, to be liked, you open yourself up to being controlled by those who do not have your best interests at heart. The world is full of people who seek advantage. Some do it consciously, others instinctively. They sense kindness as a vulnerability, a weakness they can exploit. They know that if they push, you will yield. If they demand, you will comply. If they guilt trip you, you will apologize. Niceness, unchecked, can be a form of self-betrayal. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who was once a slave but became a master of wisdom, taught that no man is free if he is controlled by the opinions or desires of others. To be free, he argued, we must be governed by reason and principle, not by fear of rejection or discomfort. Consider this. Every time you agree to something you do not want to do, simply because you are afraid of upsetting someone, you are allowing yourself to be manipulated. Every time you remain silent when you should speak up, you are giving away your power. Every time you apologize for something that is not your fault, you are weakening your position. True freedom comes from the ability to say no without guilt. It comes from knowing that your worth is not determined by how much you can accommodate others, but by how firmly you stand in your truth. Those who respect you will accept your boundaries. Those who only valued you for what they could take from you will disappear. And when they do, you will realize they were never truly your allies to begin with. When you stop being too nice, you step into your power. You stop living for the approval of others and start living for the values you believe in. And in doing so, you become unshakable. Benefit 3. The strength of authenticity. Wisdom seekers, imagine for a moment that you are standing in a room full of people, each wearing a mask. Everyone trying to project the image of who they think others want them to be. Now, think about what it would be like to walk into that room without a mask, to stand there fully yourself with no need for validation or approval. How much power would you feel in that moment? When you're too nice, you hide behind a mask of conformity, constantly adjusting to fit what others expect of you. You become a chameleon, blending into every environment, every social circle, every conversation, losing the essence of who you truly are. Authenticity, on the other hand, is the foundation of real strength. The Stoics valued authenticity above all else because they knew that the only true power comes from being yourself, unapologetically. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." In essence, live according to your own values, not the expectations or whims of others. To live authentically is to live with a clear sense of who you are. It means no longer contorting your beliefs or desires to fit what others want or expect from you. It means standing firmly in your truth, regardless of how the world may react. And when you stop being so nice, you stop pretending. You allow yourself to express your thoughts, your ideas, your passions, your boundaries, without apology. This is the strength of authenticity. It is not about pleasing others, nor is it about rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It is about being whole, true to your own nature, free from the fear of judgment or rejection. Authenticity is the power that comes from within when you no longer need others' approval to validate your worth. This authenticity does not mean you have to be harsh or unkind. On the contrary, it means that your kindness will come from a place of genuine care, not obligation. You will no longer give out of a desire to be liked, but out of a true sense of generosity and empathy. Imagine the freedom that comes with no longer pretending. Imagine the confidence that arises when you are no longer trying to fit into the boxes others have created for you. When you are authentic, you are magnetic. People are drawn to your realness, your integrity, your unwavering sense of self. Now ask yourself, how many parts of yourself have you hidden because you were too afraid of being judged or rejected? How much of your true self have you buried in order to fit into the mold others have crafted for you? The moment you decide to stop being overly nice is the moment you begin the journey of reclaiming your authentic self. And when you step into that authenticity, you unlock a power that cannot be taken from you, a power that comes from the very core of your being. Benefit 4. The art of resilience. Wisdom seekers, life will never unfold exactly how you want it to. No matter how prepared, how nice, or how accommodating you are, there will be challenges, conflict, disappointment, rejection, and adversity. But there is a secret that many fail to grasp. It is not how much you give that determines your strength, but how much you are willing to stand firm in the face of adversity. When you are too nice, you often avoid confrontation, avoid difficult decisions, avoid speaking uncomfortable truths. You bend in the wind, trying to please everyone, but this approach is fragile. You see, the act of avoiding conflict is not a sign of strength, it is a sign of vulnerability. You avoid the hard conversations, but in doing so, you forfeit the opportunity to build resilience. The Stoics were masters of resilience. They didn't shy away from hardship. They embraced it. Epictetus, who was born into slavery, taught that we do not control external events, but we do control our response to them. He wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." True resilience is not about avoiding difficulty. It's about facing it with strength, grace, and an unwavering commitment to your principles. Resilience comes from the ability to say no when necessary. It comes from standing tall, even when others criticize or oppose you. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to compromise that worth, no matter what the world throws your way. When you stop being too nice, you stop fearing rejection and judgment. Instead, you start facing challenges head-on, with the confidence that you can handle whatever comes your way. This is the true art of resilience, not avoiding pain, not seeking out the easy way, but facing the difficult moments with courage and conviction. You see, the more you allow yourself to bend and yield to the demands of others, the weaker you become. The more you stand firm in your truth, the stronger you grow. When you embrace resilience, you become immune to the petty complaints, the misunderstandings, and the disappointments that once shook you. You realize that your ability to endure, to stay calm in the storm, is your most powerful weapon. Consider this. How many times have you avoided a confrontation or compromised your values in the name of keeping the peace? How many times have you given in just to be liked, just to be accepted? In the process, you have weakened yourself. Now, imagine if you allowed yourself to face every situation with the strength to remain true to yourself. Imagine if you could hold your ground without fear, knowing that your resilience would carry you through. The world would no longer be able to push you around. True resilience isn't about never falling. It's about how you rise after you fall. It's about how you hold your ground in the face of adversity and how you remain unshaken even when others try to manipulate, criticize, or sway you. And when you stop being too nice, you step into that power. You become a force of nature, unmoved by the opinions of others, unshaken by the challenges of life. This is the resilience that comes from knowing who you are and standing firm in your beliefs. Benefit 5. The clarity of purpose. Imagine a man who is constantly pulled in different directions. Every request, every favor, every demand distracts him from his own path. He is like a leaf caught in a storm, tossed and turned by the winds of other people's expectations. He is everywhere, but where he needs to be. Now contrast that with a man who is rooted, grounded in his own purpose. He is unwavering in his direction, regardless of the distractions around him. His purpose is clear, and he moves towards it with confidence and focus. When you are too nice, your sense of purpose becomes clouded. You give to others without considering whether it aligns with your own goals. You bend to their needs, often at the expense of your own desires and ambitions. But the clarity of purpose is something that only those who are not afraid to say no, who are not afraid to set boundaries, can truly cultivate. Stoic philosophers like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius knew that a clear purpose is the bedrock of a fulfilling life. Without it, life becomes a series of distractions, and a person ends up chasing fleeting moments of approval or validation instead of pursuing something meaningful. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote in his Meditations, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In other words, if you allow others to dictate your thoughts, actions, and direction, you will lose sight of your true self and your true purpose. Purpose is not something you stumble upon by accident. It is a result of deliberate choices. Choices to prioritize your own values, your own vision, and your own needs over the endless requests of others. It's about knowing what truly matters to you and refusing to be diverted from that path, no matter how many times the world tries to pull you in another direction. When you stop being overly nice, you stop being a slave to the whims and demands of others. You start to create space in your life to focus on what you truly want to achieve. You stop compromising your own goals to appease others. Instead, you begin to make decisions based on your own values and purpose. This clarity of purpose is not just liberating, it is empowering. The clarity that comes from not being too nice allows you to see the world with new eyes. It enables you to evaluate every situation, every relationship, every opportunity through the lens of your own purpose. Does this align with where I want to go? Does this serve my vision for the future? If the answer is no, you have the strength to walk away, to set the boundary, and to focus on what matters most. Purpose is the compass that guides you through life. When you are clear on your purpose, you become a man of action, driven by a sense of direction that others cannot easily sway. You no longer waste time or energy trying to please everyone around you. Instead, you move forward with confidence, knowing that every decision you make is one step closer to realizing your vision. And the beauty of clarity is this: once you have it, everything else becomes simpler. The distractions fade away, and you become unstoppable in your pursuit of your goals. So ask yourself this: how many times have you compromised your own purpose to make others happy? How much of your time, energy, and focus have you given away to people or things that do not serve your vision? When you stop being too nice, you free yourself to pursue a life of purpose, direction, and fulfillment. You reclaim your time and your energy, and you begin to move toward your goals with unshakable clarity. Benefit 6. The freedom of personal growth. Wisdom seekers, there is something fundamentally freeing about shedding the weight of others' expectations. Imagine being able to pursue your growth without constantly looking over your shoulder, worrying about how others will perceive you, or whether they will approve of your choices. Imagine a life where your decisions are driven by your own growth and values, not by the fear of disappointing others. When you are too nice, you often suppress your own growth in favor of others. You stay in jobs you don't enjoy, relationships that don't serve you, or situations that limit your potential, all because you want to avoid conflict, hurt feelings, or rejection. You are tethered to the expectations of others, sacrificing your own development in the process. This is not the path to greatness, nor is it the path to a life of fulfillment. Personal growth requires freedom. The freedom to make mistakes, to challenge yourself, to step outside your comfort zone, and to take risks. When you stop being excessively nice, you give yourself the freedom to grow, to evolve, and to become the person you were always meant to be. The Stoics understood that personal growth could only come through hardship, challenge, and discipline. They recognized that true progress comes from within, from facing adversity head-on and using it to strengthen your character. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has little, but he who desires more, that is poor." In other words, those who cling to the approval of others and constantly seek to please are the ones who stunt their own growth. Personal growth is not a linear journey. It is a series of ups and downs, challenges and triumphs. And the more you focus on pleasing others, the more you delay your own progress. The man who refuses to compromise his values, who boldly faces discomfort, and who is willing to say no to things that do not align with his purpose, is the man who grows the most. When you stop being too nice, you stop being afraid of what others think. You stop worrying about being liked or accepted. Instead, you embrace the discomfort of change, knowing that it is a necessary part of growth. You become more self-reliant, more self-aware, and more capable of overcoming the challenges life throws at you. This freedom allows you to pursue the things that truly matter to you. It gives you the courage to follow your passions, take risks, and face fears that once held you back. You stop measuring your success by the approval of others and start measuring it by the progress you make in becoming the best version of yourself. Imagine the freedom that comes with living authentically, without the constant pressure to conform to others' expectations. Imagine the growth you would experience if you no longer compromised your own potential just to keep the peace. When you stop being too nice, you allow yourself to truly flourish. Personal growth is not about staying in your comfort zone, and it's certainly not about pleasing everyone around you. It's about pushing yourself, making difficult decisions, and embracing challenges as opportunities for improvement. And when you stop being too nice, you embrace the freedom to grow in ways you never thought possible.